The political compass test is something we all know and we have all used. Everyone's seen everyone else's political compass. So I thought I'd do one to sort of introduce myself to the channel, to the YouTube audience, and to act as a basis for my beliefs. I do have a few problems with this test, though we'll obviously dive into them as we get to them. The way it's going to be structured, I'd like to apologise for the audio first of all. It's usually better, but PowerPoint's not letting us record things through it, so I don't know why that changes the audio, but it does, so we'll make do. I'm going to go through it by reading the question, then giving my answer, and maybe I'll expand on it depending on the question. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. If it is inevitable, the question is it inevitable? To which I don't know the answer. I'm gonna say yes. Though I don't know if it's inevitable inherently. I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. I strongly agree. British Empire did nothing wrong. The Australians were always white. I don't know what you're saying. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Disagree. I'm going to be honest, I have to disagree with this one. You can be proud of your country because you've participated in it. Whether it was as little as spending a $5 at the corner shop, you have participated in your country. Therefore, you have helped what it stands for. So, yeah, I think you can be proud of something you've helped. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Nah, no, not really. I mean, I could probably survive a couple of extra milliseconds in Antarctica, but at the end of the day, mate, no one's making out there. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, until your enemy is dead and the friend is now turned into your biggest enemy. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Yeah, I mean, there's usually situations where things can be justified, like horrible things can be justified. And plus, international law itself is rather silly. And it's purely just the UN forcing its laws on weaker countries that can't stand up to it, while it lets China do what China does. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, so I'm not going to, but I feel like, There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I'm going to say disagree, because I feel like that is the base level of that belief. Like, I'm entirely not sure what to answer, so it's probably safe to just disagree. Always assume the negative if there is no evidence for the positive. Now the economy. We're talking attitudes here, not the index. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Depends on the people. I feel like in England, no, unless you're a Labour voter, to which then you would say yes. But I feel like the majority of people care more about nationality than class. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say that's a fair position to hold, yeah. After all, inflation is effectively just the government stealing your money's value. So I feel like the less theft that happens, the better it is for everyone. And having a job doesn't mean it's a job worth living for. Like, realistically, it doesn't. It just means you have a job. You probably want jobs of high value. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Yeah, they can't just start dumping a bunch of radiation in the middle of the water. I feel like that's a fair thing to say. But it's getting a tad bit ridiculous with Extinction Rebellion. Protest in the middle of London, stopping everyone from getting work and then leaving a bigger mess than when they came. So I'd say yes, but rarely. which is probably my opinion on regulation entirely. Yes, but rarely. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. I disagree with that one. Disagree. The freer the market, the freer people. Not inherently. If the market gets to the point where it is violating people's human rights, then I'd say no. But it gets to a certain extent. I feel like we've got to get in the middle between violating human rights because it's so free it can do that, and not being free whatsoever. I feel like there's a middle ground. But generally speaking, because there's no middle ground answer the question, it's just yes or no. It depends on how free you're talking. If I said that, I'd probably be referring to the middle ground to where it's not violating human rights. So I'd probably say agree. Yeah, generally. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. No, because you've got to get the water. You've got to then make it so the water's actually drinkable. Some people like to have flavors in the water. Monsters, but people will be people. And then you've got to think, well, what about the plastic? You've got to get the plastic, then the paper you put around the plastic with your logo on it, then the cap, then you've got to put them together, and it costs a lot of money to produce water. So no, since it is a product, and you always have the choice of just going to the sink. I mean, it's not good water. The only thing stopping you from going to the sink is your own taste buds, really. But it's always an option, if push comes to shove. So I'd say strongly disagree. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I disagree. It is your right to own land. Don't let anybody try to take that away from you. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Yeah, it is kind of regrettable. No, I agree. Yeah, it's a shame, but freedom has its flaws, obviously. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Yes, but rarely. 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 The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders and to deliver what it has promised to its customers. Like Amazon, if they take your money, they can't just turn around and say, you're not getting your product. They don't have a responsibility to the wider society, but to your customers and to your shareholders. Unfortunately, that's not what the question says. So I'm going to have to say no, I disagree. But because they also have responsibility to get the product to their customer in good condition. The rich are too highly taxed. No, I reckon it's about right. You shouldn't, you really shouldn't be taxing people just because they're doing well. More tax, stealing effectively, that's what it says. The rich are too highly stolen from, is what the question really says. But nah, I feel like it's a good level. Might be a little high, it might be a bit low. It's 50-50 really. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. I mean, yeah, if you can pay for it and you want to pay for it, then yeah, you should have access to it. That doesn't prevent the NHS from existing, it just means that less people will be using it, so if anything, it's helping it. Governments... Wait, what was that? Those with the ability... Yeah, I agree. Governments should penalise businesses that mislead the public. Misleading them about what? Because if they're misleading the public about the product, then absolutely, that's false advertisement, there should be legal repercussion. But if they're just convincing people the sky is turquoise... Actually, I think it might be... No, I don't know what turquoise is. I don't know what turquoise is. But if they're convincing people that the sky is green, then, I mean... I don't really see a problem with that. So, again, it depends on what they're misleading the public on. I'm going to make an assumption, and this is going to happen a lot, because the problem with this test is they don't give enough information to properly answer it. So I'm going to assume they're talking about the product, and say yes, lying about a product, ignore that, lying about a product should face legal repercussion. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Monopolies are bad, yeah. I feel like monopoly should just get heavily taxed to the point where competition can catch up and it becomes a healthy situation again. Because realistically, you should not want to become a monopoly. I feel like that's a fair thing. You shouldn't want to become a monopoly. When a wolf in nature is the sole dominant on that island, we'll say, yeah, there's wolf on an island. It's got rabbits surrounding it. The dog will. It's the equivalent of the dog eating all of the rabbits. And would you look at this? No rabbits, no food. You're dead. Yeah, you've starved to death. So I feel like there should be repercussions of becoming a monopoly. I don't think the government should just take over. I don't think that should. They just should be heavily taxed until its competition has caught up again. Because then you're not destroying the company either. Because if it gets to the point where you've destroyed the company, then obviously you've done too much. You've been taxed far too much, and that is completely unfair. But there should always be competition. Is effectively what I'm saying. Ooh, this is a really topical one. Abortion when the woman's life is not threatened should always be illegal. No, because if she gets an abortion like an hour after she's gone, I don't know if that's an abortion to be fair, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think life starts when your heartbeat starts. That's how we determine what a human is alive. I know, like other animals, like jellyfish, they're wrongins. Them like, so they don't have heartbeats. They don't have hearts. So jellyfish, I mean, it's arguably they're not even alive. They're basically just plants. But as a human is alive if it has a heartbeat. That's how it's determined. So once the baby has a heartbeat, you can't kill it, and it would be murder then. But before that, it wasn't alive. So I feel like up till the heartbeat, it's justified. So I feel like once it's got a heartbeat, it should be protected. But that's not what the question's asking. The question's asking, should always be illegal, regardless of whether it's alive, and I disagree with that. All authorities should be questioned. Absolutely. Abortion when should. Yeah, disagree. All authorities should be questioned. Absolutely. Question all authority. Doesn't matter what the authority is, even if you agree with it, question it. That's something important to do in life. Like what I'm saying here. If you disagree with anything I say, fact check it. I always suggest that. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I don't know about that one. Depends on the context. Like if someone's killed your best friend, I don't see how there is a moral wrong in killing them. I mean, there's the legal wrong, obviously. Can't have people just going around killing each other. But morally speaking, I think that's perfectly acceptable. Morally, yes. Legally, no, I'd say. Well, of course, you're even more morally justified if you don't do it, But doing it is like a bare ground. It's not immoral, it's not moral, it's just a thing. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theatres or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I absolutely agree. The only thing that you should be taxed for is the bare essentials the government needs to protect your human rights. Whether it's police or the NHS, since that does protect your right to life, it should be the bare essential. A museum's effectively a vanity project, and that should be done through private companies, if they so want to. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I don't know about this one. Because you're forced, I don't know, that's a really difficult one. I'm going to say disagree, because again, that's not really having an opinion on the situation. No, actually, no, I agree would, because, should not. Wait, no. I'm just going to say disagree. I'm just saying disagree. That can confuse us for a second. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep with their own kind. This is the question I have the biggest problem with. Because what does it mean? What does different sorts of people mean? Does it mean religion? Does it mean ideology? Does it mean racial? Does it mean national? It means nothing. The question is that vague, it has no purpose. Hell, it could be talking about people with different hair colours for all we know. And that is the problem with the question. Now I'm going to do something. I'm going to ascribe what I personally would want the question to be, and that's ideology. Racially speaking, I put disagree. You know, I mean, there's nothing important about race. You know, your appearance isn't important whatsoever. But ideologically, because when the Vikings invaded Britain, we did not get along. They were a completely different culture, religion, everything about them was completely different. And it caused mayhem. So, they adapted. They changed into the culture. They did not stay their own culture, they adapted to their new surroundings. And if they don't do that, then yeah, it's two completely contradicting cultures. They're gonna fight, realistically. They're not gonna stay at peace for long. So ideologically speaking, yes, people of different ideologies should keep to the people of their ideology, you know, like communities and that. That one has a lot of assumptions and it completely changes depending on how you assume the question. So I don't blame anyone for, you know, having a different answer to that one. Good parents sometimes have to spank their child. No, I disagree with that. Because you're not teaching them not to do it. You're teaching them that there will be repercussions if they do it. You know, like to them, they don't do it because they get hit. If they're not going to get hit, well, why not do it? You haven't actually explained why not. You've just hit them. So once the threat of violence fades, then they'll just do it. They'll just do it. They've got no reason not to. It's natural for children to keep secrets from their parents. Yeah, I mean, that's natural. I wouldn't say it's... I mean, it might be good, it might be bad. It's just neutral, really. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offence. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is your right to have it if you want it and you are of age, obviously. Don't stop giving it to your 4-year-old. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generations to find jobs. Now, the function of schooling should be to teach people how to think. Teach people how to be aware, to reason. That is what school should be. I mean, there was a study a while back that said most jobs in the future, might be 10 years out now, do not exist today. How can you prepare people for jobs that do not exist? You can't. So that is really unlikely. It would just be preparing them for factory work, which is arguably what it does now, though I am in heavy support of school reform. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Absolutely not. Absolutely. If you want to have a kid, have a kid. As long as it's two consenting adults, have the kids. I don't care. It's your life. If you want a kid, have them. You will have to be the one looking after him if he does end up having disabilities. But again, that's just your choice. I don't think the government should determine who can and cannot have children. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Not inherently. Not inherently, no. Not if it's unjust. There are no savage and civilized people, there are only different cultures. Rubbish. I might be wrong with this, but I have heard that Aztecs used to kidnap women from tribes, skin them, then wear their skin while invading the tribe. They're savages. They're uncivilized. They're complete savages. It was like it's not a different culture. It is a savage place. So yeah, I feel like no, there are savage people. Absolutely. Though that doesn't mean we weren't savages, because like if you put our morality against medieval times, I mean yeah, we were savages. We did terrible things. I mean the witch trials, that were really dodgy. Them like. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Yeah, if you can work and you're just choosing not to, then yeah, something a bit wrong there. Obviously, if you're in education, like full-time education, then you know you don't have to work then because you're preparing to work in the future. But if you can, if you're just doing nothing, then no, don't expect taxpayer money. Obviously, if you're disabled, that doesn't count. You know, you can't work. It's not your fault. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes with this one. Not because I think it's a good thing to do, but because it's what I do. I don't know which one's better, like if you should address it or just pretend it's not real. But that's what I do, so I'm just going to say yes. So really, I wouldn't complain if you said no. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Rubbish. That's rubbish. I mean, first of all, anyone can integrate. Anyone can integrate. A Taliban member could show up and just say, right, you know what? It's actually kind of nice, this. And he could integrate. Plus then, what if they're, like... What if they're a kid? What if the parents come with a kid? That kid could very easily integrate. I think anyone can and probably should integrate if it's a good culture, like our culture. I mean, obviously don't go to Afghanistan and integrate there. That's probably not a good idea. But yeah, what's good for them? Well, that's a different question. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Now, I'd imagine Amazon would really benefit from slavery. I don't think slavery is a good thing, so no. Actually, I'd say strongly disagree with that one. No broadcasting institute, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Yeah, destroy the NHS. Destroy the BBC, burn it to the ground, cut taxpayer money, and let it die in its own political cringe. We're moving on to wider society now. Our civil, only 4-6, wow. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counter-terrorism. Oh, absolutely. Strongly agree. I mean, that's what they do, though, isn't it? Like, especially the conservatives, they do it all the time. They bring terrorists in and then they take away our rights trying to deal with them, when if you just didn't bring them, then there should be no problem. So it's what they always do, you know, to create the problem and then take more power with the solution. It's tried and tested, it always works, like with COVID. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in the democratic political system. This is another question I have a problem with. Because that's true. That's true. It absolutely accelerates the process. But a one-party state is a terrible idea. It is a horrible idea. But the question is clearly, if I say yeah, I agree, which I do agree, that is a benefit. It's going to assume I am pro one-party state. That's what it's going to assume. But really, it is a benefit. But at what cost? That cost is significantly higher than the benefit. So while I agree with that advantage, I disagree with one-party states. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. That's just what the police say and make it compliance. The death penalty should be an option for the more serious of crimes. I disagree. I do. And a lot of people are probably going to take issue with this, and, you know, most of these are conservatives. But whether they deserve to die or not is a completely different question to whether I think the government should kill them. I don't think the government should be able to kill. Whether they deserve it or not is irrelevant to me. It's about the government's power being limited. And I feel like if a government can kill, then it can really stretch that. And I don't believe it should have that power. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. No, because what happens when you get at the bottom? Then they've got no one to be commanded. And what happens if you get at the top? They've got no one to be obeyed. So, I have to disagree. Though I get what it's like trying to say, and I agree with what it's trying to say. You know, you have to have hierarchy. But the way it says it is bad. It's wrong. But what it's saying is right. So I'm going to go for grey, though it could be worded a massively amount of better. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. I just spent 30 quid on a t-shirt with a monkey on it. So I'm going to say disagree. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. In an ideal situation, yes. Though, assuming that we've sorted out other problems, like, you know, like weed is not illegal, then yes. If victimless crimes are not illegal, yes. It is a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals. Look, we were never going to convince Hitler. He was pretty stuck in his ways. Hannibal Lecter, they were pretty... I don't think a cup of tea is going to change their mind anytime soon. So yeah, strongly agree actually. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. I disagree. I think it's equal amounts, it's like one can't survive without the other. It's a symbiotic relationship. They're both equally as important. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. I mean, legally no, but cult it's probably the best, though. It's entirely. It's obviously it's always up to the woman. It's up to her. If she doesn't want to, then she doesn't want to. But I'd suggest it. May have careers, but their first duty is to be. In most situations, yes. Though again, if you don't want it, you don't have to. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I have to disagree, since I feel like unethically, I'd have to have examples. I'm disagreeing because I don't know anything about this topic, so it's sort of a neutral position. But I could probably be swung either way, to be honest. Making peace with the establishment, no, is an important aspect of maturity. Definitely not. That is incredibly authoritarian. I mean, what if people just made peace with the Soviet Union? China, Germany, modern day Germany, I mean, and Germany back then, obviously. But you should always question authority, like I said prior. Astrology accurately explains many things. No. And realistically, like the whole birth month thing, birth months are just women's political compass. We come here with our liberal, lib right, lib left, authoritarian right. They just have Geminis. It's the same thing, it just keeps us both entertained, realistically. That is a hot take, I believe. You cannot be moral without being religious. No, you can't. You can, absolutely. It'll probably be a different morality, but no, you can still be moral. Charity's better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. I mean, it probably helps them more, but morally speaking, that's stolen money. So, as a means of help, it probably helps them more. So I'd say agree, but I don't think we should do it because it's just theft. It is just theft at that point, and the government should only protect your rights, its borders and agreements. That is what I think the government should do. Any more, and it's overreaching massively. Some people are naturally unlucky. Luck doesn't exist as a concept. Well, it's a concept, but doesn't actually exist. But yeah, you can just have bad luck. You can. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. I don't think left wing. I don't think all the left or like the wokeism should be in school. No, I don't think. No. Strongly disagree. I don't want wokeism in my schools. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. No. No, I mean, there's nothing moral about not having sex, realistically. I mean, I'd suggest not doing it, but it's not like a moral question. So I'd say disagree. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Yeah, why not? Why should they not be? Though they would have the argument that they can't give what a mother and father can give, but I mean, good chance they can. I mean, if they do, then why shouldn't they? Everyone has the right. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Yeah, well, yeah, just let them have their porn. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly agree. If I want to fight to the death with a man, I have every right to do so. That is my right and his right, and the government should not impede on it. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Nah, you're born gay. You don't become gay. You can be tricked into thinking you are, but no, you're not actually at that point. It's completely different. You are born the sexuality. You can't change, you know? These days, openness about, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you see, like, pride parades. You've got people in BDSM outfits, you know, like dominatrix walking down the street. A couple of men in dog outfits and hanging out with little girls. It's really dodgy then. That is really dodgy. I think it's gone massively too far. Now let's see where I am on the compass. Yeah, that's about right. It's usually around about there somewhere. It only ever goes up and down like by 2. So yeah, that's about right. And on that note, bye.